Somebody in your life can read you like a text message, and you are the one who wrote it. Your partner, a colleague, that one friend who always seems to know. They never studied psychology. They could not tell a micro-expression from a mosquito bite. But they know that when you say, "I'm fine," something under your left eye twitches before you finish the word. They caught it years ago. They never told you. You thought you had a poker face. You have a newsletter. Everyone you know is subscribed. Now here is the part that should actually bother you. That person reading you learned it by accident. Nobody trained them. So imagine what a man can do who learns it on purpose. Who sits across from the liar mid-lie, the manipulator on his opening move, the colleague quietly running numbers on him, and reads the whole confession while smiling back like nothing happened. Robert Greene spent 40 years studying that exact man. And what he found is the opposite of what you would guess. The most dangerous person in the room was never the one hiding. It is the one who sees. Tonight, you become him. But there is a final move, the thing that separates a man who reads people from a man nobody reads back, and it is not what you think. Stay for it. That is where the power actually lives. Here is what you are walking away with, so you know exactly what your next 30 minutes buys you. A weapon with 3 parts. Part 1, the eyes. 4 specific leaks every human being broadcasts, and each one catches a different predator. The liar, mid-lie. The manipulator, on move 1 instead of move 20. The user, running his quiet maths behind a warm smile. Part 2, the lever. Every man has one hunger that runs him, and I will show you how to find it, how to test it, and what happens when you speak to it directly. Part 3, the seal. How to act on everything you read without ever being caught reading. That third part is the reason one man in history walked through a revolution that beheaded everyone around him and died rich in his bed of old age, which, for his line of work, was basically a magic trick. I will tell you how he did it near the end, and I promise the answer is not what you expect. Eyes, lever, seal, that is the map. Now let me tell you why nobody handed you this before, because that part was not an accident. You have heard the phrase emotional intelligence 1,000 times. It is on the corporate posters, usually next to a stock photo of people high-fiving. And the version they sold you goes like this. Be vulnerable, share what you are feeling, lead with empathy, make the room comfortable, name your emotions out loud so everyone knows where you stand. Read that list again, slowly. Every single item on it is an instruction to broadcast, to leak, to hand over your inner state on command and call it growth. That is not emotional intelligence. That is emotional obedience wearing its name tag. It trains you to be fluent in your own feelings and blind to everyone else's. It builds a man who can describe his anxiety in beautiful detail while the person across the table reads him like a receipt. And it gets worse, because the counterfeit does not just make you readable, it disarms you at the exact moment you should be dangerous. Somebody crosses you, really crosses you. The kind of betrayal that deserves an answer. And the soft version leans in and whispers, try to understand them, see their pain. So you hand out grace where you should have handed out consequences. And here is the joke. The man who crossed you was counting on that. He read you first. He knew your training would turn your injury into forgiveness before the bill ever reached his table. That is not maturity. That is a man talking himself out of justice and feeling proud about it. What that moment actually requires is its own discipline, and I made a full video on it. It is on this channel. It is called Hot Revenge. When you finish here, that is your next stop. For now, hold this line. Empathy aimed at a man who has already moved against you is not wisdom. It is surrender with better manners. So where did the real version go? The one built for advantage instead of applause. Robert Greene has it. But here is the strange thing. He never put it in one place. He scattered it across 2 books and 20 years of writing. A piece here, a piece there. The casual reader walks away with quotes for his Instagram. The serious student walks away with a weapon. One book teaches you to see through a man's mask. Another teaches you to find his lever and hide your own hand. Almost nobody bolts the pieces together. We did. We went through his work and pulled every part that touches this one art. The reading, the lever, the concealment. Welded into a single method, which is what we are calling the Law of Emotional Intelligence. Every reference is in the description if you want to check the welds. You do not need the footnotes to fire the weapon. You need the next 25 minutes. First, proof it works. Because a method that has never survived contact with a real enemy is a theory, and I do not deal in theories. 17th century France. A churchman named Cardinal de Retz could walk into a room full of courtiers, men raised from the cradle to smile at people they were planning to destroy, and inside a few minutes he had the whole room mapped. Who resented whom? Which alliance had 3 weeks left to live? Which man would sell out which the moment the price was right? He did not do it by asking. You cannot ask a courtier anything true. It would be like asking a fish for a walk. He watched. Who glanced at whom before they laughed? Whose smile arrived half a second late because it was manufactured? Whose hand tightened on a glass when one particular name came up? Every liar in that court was broadcasting. De Retz was the only man receiving, and he climbed a court built specifically to eat men like him, because while everyone else listened to the words, he was reading the men. He was not alone. There were 2 others, 2 names you will hear before this video ends, and each one mastered a different part of the weapon you are about to hold. One of them turned the red into a private file on every powerful man in France. The other used it to outlive 4 governments that executed everybody around him, and the way he pulled that off is the final move of this video. I will bring each man in when we reach his part of the art. He read the man, never only the message, and he showed nothing of what he found. Hold that sentence. It is the whole art in one line, and by the end, it will be yours to say out loud. Right. Part 1. The eyes. Every person you deal with is leaking through 4 channels, all day, every day. I am going to walk you through all 4, easiest to hardest. For each one, you get the moment it happens in a real conversation, exactly what to look for, and what it wins you when you catch it. By the 4th, you will understand why the men who run all 4 at once are never, ever surprised. Leak number 1. The deviation from baseline. It comes first because without it, the other 3 are useless, and it also happens to be the channel that unmasks the manipulator. Here is why. A manipulator is a man performing a character, and no performance survives a baseline. The warmth that switches on exactly when he wants something, and only then. The charm that works beautifully on people above him and dies completely at the waiter. Watch his normal for a week, and the costume tears at the seams. The principle is simple. You cannot read a change until you know the normal. So from your next conversation on, you do something you have never deliberately done. You spend the first 2 minutes capturing the baseline. How fast does this man blink when nothing is at stake? Where do his hands live? What does his ordinary voice sound like? That is his neutral, and once you own the neutral, every deviation lights up like a flare. Watch it in a negotiation. You are talking terms. Easy conversation, his hands loose on the table. Then you name your price, and his thumb starts working against his forefinger. His face gives you nothing. The words stay smooth, but you took his baseline 8 minutes ago, and his hands were still then. That little movement is the negotiation itself speaking to you. It says your number landed somewhere real. It says there is room. The man with no baseline sees nothing and grabs the first counteroffer like a life raft. You saw the flare, so you hold. You let the silence do the heavy lifting, and you walk out with 3,000 more, because his thumb told you it was there. Baseline, then deviation. It turns a guess into information. That is one. The second is faster and worth more. The flash. The human face shows its true reaction for roughly 40 milliseconds before the social mask gets back in position. Contempt before a compliment. Fear when one specific topic lands. The real smile that reaches the eyes against the manufactured one that dies at the mouth. Nobody can fake past this channel because it fires before the conscious mind gets a vote. The face votes first. The person finds out later. Here is the scene. Your boss looks over your work and says, "Great work." But in the half second before those words, something crossed his face. One corner of the mouth, up and back, asymmetric, gone before you could name it. That is contempt. And it is the most honest thing that happened in that entire meeting. The words were the press release. The flash was the truth. So what does catching it win you? Everything. It tells you the praise is positioning, not approval. It tells you to quietly document your work, widen your options, and treat the next restructure as something with your name on it. 6 months later, when it comes, you are the one man on the floor who is not surprised. Half a second of muscle told you the future, and you were smart enough to believe it. Leak 2. Trust the flash over the sentence, every time. 2 down. The third leak hides somewhere you have been listening to your whole life without ever hearing it. The words themselves. And this is the channel that catches the liar. In his own voice. In real time. No equipment required. Not what a man says, the words he picks to say it with. Word choice is a fossil of the inner state, and men betray themselves in the grammar. Listen to the difference between "I didn't take the file" and "that file wasn't taken by me." The second man just pushed the act away from his own body. Distance is what guilt does to language. Listen for the word honestly, which shows up most often as the opening act for its exact opposite. Listen for sudden formality. A man who goes from casual to careful mid-conversation has just become afraid of you, and fear is information. And listen for the over-explanation. You ask a colleague about one missed deadline and get 4 reasons back. 4 reasons is not thoroughness. 4 reasons is a man building a wall, and the wall tells you precisely where the hole is. What this channel wins you is the lie live as it is being told. When the grammar distances, when the qualifiers pile up, when honestly opens the sentence, you now know which claims to verify and which man never to leave unwatched. 3 down. Now the fourth. The one almost nobody reaches, because it asks you to read something that is not there. the silence. The richest intelligence in any conversation is what a man avoids. The topic he steers around every time, the name that makes him reach for his glass. The question he answers by answering a slightly different question and hoping you will not notice the swap. Most listeners chase what is said. The trained reader maps what is not, because avoidance is a man pointing, with both hands, at the exact thing he cannot afford to have touched. The scene, a team dinner. Easy conversation, 2 hours of it. And somewhere in hour 2 you notice your colleague has mentioned every project except one, the one he is supposedly leading. Nobody else caught it, because nothing happened. But nothing happening around one specific subject is the loudest sound in the room. That project is failing. He knows. And now you know, weeks before it goes official, which means you drift quietly away from the wreckage while every other man at that table gets volunteered for the salvage. Leak 4. What it wins you is time. You hear the crash before the crash. There they are. Baseline, flash, word choice, silence. 4 channels, all broadcasting, all the time, from every single person you will ever sit across. Run 1, you have an edge. Run all 4, and you are not guessing about people anymore. You are reading a document they do not know they published. And, before we move on, let me pay off a promise from the start. The user, the friend who only exists when he needs something. He is the easiest catch of all, because he is a baseline crime. Map his pattern, and you will find his warmth runs on a schedule. He surfaces 2 weeks before he needs the favor. The messages get friendly, the compliments arrive, he suddenly remembers your birthday. Then the ask lands, and the moment it is granted, he sinks back under the surface until next season. One read of that cycle and you will never again mistake his warming for friendship. It is not affection. It is invoicing. You can keep him around if he is useful, that is your call. But from now on, when the temperature rises, you will already know what is being billed. Let me show you all 4 running at once, because this is where it stops being a list and becomes a way of sitting in a room, a meeting about a project handover. First 2 minutes, you say almost nothing. You are taking baselines. The director talks with his hands. The finance man does not. Your rival is loud and loose. 10 minutes in, you raise the budget line, and the finance man's hands, still all meeting, come up to his face. Deviation. Something in that budget scares him. The director says, "We're fully behind this," but a flash crossed him on the word fully. So the backing is not full. Your rival, loud all morning, has now said nothing for 4 minutes, and the silence started the moment the handover date came up. When he finally speaks, he says, "The timeline wasn't set by me." There it is. Distance in the grammar. He is building his alibi for a delay he already knows is coming. 4 leaks. 1 completely ordinary meeting, and you walk out, knowing the budget has a body buried in it, the director's support is soft, and the timeline will slip with your rival already positioned to dodge the blame. Everyone else in that room heard a normal meeting. You read the man, not the message. Keep hold of that sentence. It is about to become something you say about yourself. Quick pause. First audit. If somewhere in those 4 leaks you recognized a moment you missed, a negotiation you lost, a flash you explained away, a silence you did not hear until it was official, type 1 word below, re-aidable. Not a vote, a contract. It means, I was the man being read, and as of today I am the man doing the reading. Then stay put, because eyes without a target are just sightseeing. Part 2 gives you the target. Part 2. The lever. Here is the question that separates reading for understanding from reading for advantage. Once you can see into a man, what exactly are you looking for? The soft version says, his feelings, so you can connect with them. Lovely. Ask who benefits from you believing that, not you. It keeps your brand new eyes pointed at comfort instead of power. And the people who taught you it is rude to read others are, funnily enough, the same people who were reading you while they taught it. No, when you read a man, you are hunting one thing, the lever, the single dominant hunger that runs him. Every man has one that outranks the rest. For one man, it is recognition. He is starving to be seen, and every third sentence has his title in it. For another, it is security. He will trade almost anything not to feel the ground move. For another, control. For another, the terror of being found out as less than he appears. One hunger sits on the throne. Find which one, and you are holding the lever that moves the whole man. How do you find it? You already own the tools. The 4 leaks point straight at it. Watch what he cannot stop doing. Watch what he defends before anyone attacked it. The man who keeps telling you he is fine financially, completely unprompted, has just drawn you a map to the fear. Watch which subjects produce the flash and which produce the silence. Give it 3 conversations, and the pattern converges on one point. That point is the lever. Then you test it before you trust it, because a wrong lever is worse than none. The test is small and deniable. You think a man runs on recognition. Hand him a modest slice of credit in front of exactly one other person, and watch. If you are right, he lights up far beyond the size of the gift, and he is warm to you for a week. If nothing moves, you were wrong. Back to the leaks. The test costs you nothing. It looks like ordinary good manners. But it turns your theory into a confirmed instrument. And confirmed is the only kind you act on. Now, the first of the 2 men I promised you. Joseph Fouché, Napoleon's Minister of Police, the most feared man in France, and not because of his soldiers. Fouché hunted levers. He filed you within 90 seconds of shaking your hand. Your fear, your appetite, the weakness you were certain was invisible. Ministers, generals, the emperor's own family, every one of them lived in Fouché's head as a name attached to a lever. And when he needed a man to move, he did not argue, and he did not threaten. He simply arranged for the man's own hunger to point in the direction Fouché wanted him to walk. Men obeyed him for years and sincerely believed it was their own judgment. That is what a confirmed lever does. It retires force. And what do you do with yours? You speak in its currency. You need the recognition-hungry man behind your project. Do not pitch him the project. Pitch him the credit. Frame it so his name stands beside the win, and he will move for you while believing he moved for himself. Negotiating with a security-driven man, stop selling the upside. Sell the protection from the downside and watch the resistance melt. You changed nothing true. You just stopped broadcasting on your frequency and started broadcasting on his. The difference in results will genuinely disturb you. And yes, there is a harder use, and you should know it exists. The lever is also where a man breaks. Press the exposure fear of someone who moved against you. Let him understand that what he hides is not as hidden as he believed. Then watch him negotiate himself down without you ever raising your voice. Press or position, the rule is the same. Find the hunger. Speak its language. The man follows. Second audit. This one is a story, not a word. If you ever worked out, too late. that somebody found your lever and pulled it, the flattery that moved you, the fear that froze you, the security you overpaid for. Write what happened in the comments. Not for me. For the next man reading, who still believes he moves for his own reasons. The comment section is the file we build together. Part 3. The Seal. Slow down here, because this is the move I promised at the start, and it decides whether the first two parts make you dangerous or just make you a target with good eyesight. Here is the trap nearly every man falls into the same week he learns to read. He cannot hold what he sees. He catches the lie, and his eyebrows file a report. He spots the flash of contempt and confronts it on the spot. He finds the lever and simply has to show off the find. I know exactly what you're doing. It feels like power. It is the opposite. The moment a man knows he has been read, he recalibrates, and your reads go dark. He marks you as a threat, and his guard never drops again. And he talks, so every room you walk into from now on is pre-sealed against you. The perceptive man who performs his perception has traded one blindness for another. Everyone can now see him seeing, and a man who can be seen seeing can be managed. The masters ran the opposite protocol. This is the sealed read. You take everything, the flash, the fossil in the grammar, the silence, the lever. You file all of it. And you hand the source nothing back. No flicker, no knowing pause, no raised eyebrow. He leaves the conversation certain he was never read, certain the curtains held. And from behind that certainty, you act. You hold firm in the negotiation because his thumb told you to, and your face stays politely bored. You start protecting your position the same day you catch the boss's contempt, and your manner with him warms, if anything, by 1 degree. You aim the pitch straight at the recognition hunger, and he never once feels aimed at. And now the second man I promised. The proof that this move beats every other move on the board. Talleyrand, Foreign Minister of France under the monarchy, then under the revolution that beheaded the monarchy, then under Napoleon, then under the restored monarchy again. 4 regimes that hated each other. Each one executed the men who had served the last. Talleyrand served all 4, outlived all 4, and died in his bed, rich and old, which for a French politician of that era is close to a supernatural event. Understand what that record means. He sat across from Napoleon at the absolute height of his power and read, in the set of the jaw and a new impatience in the voice, that the empire had peaked and the fall had begun. Years early, plenty of men were perceptive enough to sense the same thing. Every single one who showed it died or fled. Talleyrand read the fall of an empire across a dinner table and gave the emperor nothing, no cooled loyalty, no careful distance. Napoleon looked at him and saw a devoted servant right up until the ground moved, and Talleyrand was somehow already standing on the other side of it. The reading was never the weapon. The silence that sealed it was. Reading a man makes you perceptive. Letting him see you read him makes you a fool. Reading him and showing nothing makes you the one person he can never get ahead of. One warning before I hand this over, because a weapon description that skips the recoil is a sales pitch. 2 dangers. First, paranoia. The week your eyes open, you will see too much. Contempt in tired faces, lies in honest hesitations. The baseline is your cure. Without it, every signal reads as betrayal. With it, you can tell a lying man from a man who just needs a nap. Second, the fork. The same read that shows you a man's hunger also shows you his wound, and you can build influence on either one. You will stand at that fork with every person you ever read, and the skill will not choose for you. Choose deliberately. Now, look at the distance you covered. 30 minutes ago, you were the newsletter, taking words at face value, moving for reasons other men installed in you. Now, you hold all three parts: the eyes, baseline, flash, word choice, silence; the lever, one hunger on the throne, found through the leaks, spoken to in its own currency; the seal, take everything, return nothing, act from behind a face that confirms nothing. Tomorrow you will sit in some completely ordinary meeting, catch a flash you would have missed last week, and feel the floor of the game tilt your way for the first time. That is not your imagination. That is literacy arriving. So here is the sentence that holds all of it. The vow the men who own this skill live by, whether they have ever said it out loud or not. I read the man, not the message. Type it below, not as a reply, as a claim. Type it if you are done trusting press releases, done taking the sentence at face value while the man behind it moves against you. I read the man, not the message. Say it until it is yours. One last thing, and it matters. This weapon has a twin. Everything you now know how to catch, somebody else knows how to catch in you. Your baseline, your flashes, your grammar, your silences. Reading them is offense. Sealing yourself is defense. And I built a full video on exactly that. It is on this channel. It is called Become Unreadable. Watch it after Hot Revenge, and you will hold both halves. See everything, show nothing. The world is drowning in confessions and starving for readers. Every face around you broadcasts on a frequency you were trained never to receive by people who were relieved you never learned. Well, now you have learned. Subscribe if you plan to keep your eyes open. Not for me, for the version of you that stopped taking dictation from other men's words. You walked in here a newsletter. You are walking out the only man in the room who reads. This is your cold awakening.